Good morning, everyone. Um, Excited, always excited to have another opportunity to go out on the football field and practice and obviously play a game. Kind of talked about, some of the history of Chicago, the Bears, and I've always been very appreciative of everything they've accomplished over, well, I guess since I've been alive at least. What I will say is like my message to the team is really just about focus. It's about, we call it today Focus Friday. We're not out there a long time, but definitely expect the execution to be on point and the effort to be on point and not out there long, but it's all about focus. Look, has everything been perfect throughout the week during practice? Absolutely not, but I think the guys have responded well and look forward to seeing those guys come out here today and, kind of tighten up all the rest of the screws. Fire away.
Speaking of taking screws, Kyle Duggar, is that ankle maybe more serious than you initially thought? I mean, the second time.
Yeah, he's still dealing with the ankle, and as you know, all injuries don't heal the same way, and so he's still dealing with those things, and we'll see how it goes going forward.
Something that could threaten his availability. I mean, in the short term, obviously, but like, will be back this year, or is that like?
No, he'll be back this year for sure. Yeah.
And then talking about Mike Owen up front, and just Alex mentioned yesterday he's your best offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And just wherever you need him, you're going to put him, and that could be left guard. What are your sort of thoughts on like trying to get continuity, but at the same time needing to?
Yeah. You know, if I'm being very honest, like it's been frustrating, throughout the year as far as the different combinations we've had to work through. And I'm very appreciative of Big Mike and just his willingness before anything else, his willingness to do whatever it takes to help the team win.
Do you have to have a conversation with him, like ahead of time before potentially moving him to a different spot, just to let him know at least?
I've had multiple conversations with Big Mike, and as always, it's with a smile and whatever I need to do to help the team win, and I appreciate that.
And how much does the shuffle on the inside have to do with maybe trying to get back to establishing the run?
Look, it's about going out there and being able to, protect the quarterback and also run the ball. You never want to be too one dimensional, and look, we just got to get things going.
What aspect has been frustrating?
The frustrating part for me is just it's just been the guys in and out of the lineup, and that's what I mean. Whether it's through injury or whether it's through performance, it's just been a bunch of different things, and that's part of football, and that's part of me learning as a head coach. Those things are going to happen. Some years it's worse than others, and this year it's just been hard to get the same group out there every week.
How can someone like David Andrews help in that kind of situation?
Sorry.
How can David Andrews help?
Yeah, he's still been around. It kind of goes back to as you guys know, when I was a player, I dealt with injuries as well, and still hung around the football team all the time. And David's doing the same thing, and he's been helpful for me as well. Things that I can do better or things that I'm doing well, and he's a valuable piece of the puzzle. Still a captain on this team, voted on by his peers, and I think that says a lot.
If you guys were to put, say, Wayne and Lowe next to each
Sorry, I
other.
can't hear you.
Sorry, if you guys were to put, say, Mike and Vidarian next to each other on the left side, how much of a risk is there having two inexperienced guys on the right side? And as coaches, how do you sort of combat another team trying to target that side of the offensive line?
Yeah, the expectation is that all those guys have to know what to do. Before you get into the how to do it, you need to know what to do. And again, that's always been the expectation. Now we just have to go out there on Sunday and do it.
Coach Antonio Gibson's known for his versatility and his receiving ability, but it seems like he hasn't been used a ton in that role. I was just wondering if there's any reason for that.
Look, we try to, as we game plan, we try to do what we think is best for that game, and it just hasn't worked out that way as of now.
Is Layden a guy who can flip over the left side?
I would say anytime you're a rookie, regardless of position, it's going to be tough to move back and forth, play inside backer, outside backer. That's a very tough thing to do, and for us, it's about let's master one role first before we get into that flipping side to sides.
Gerard, you mentioned your appreciation for the history of the Bears, and I know often those Wednesday meetings with Bill doubled as a history lesson on the opposing team. Is that something you find is important to kind of imprint on your players, or to what degree?
Yeah. So, my style is, I kind of talk about the players that, that have played there in the past, players that I've been fans of, and look, they understand. Like, obviously, I'm a huge linebacker guy, and Dick Butkus and the rest of that crew has always been. And then you go to the Urlacher phase as well, and then you go to Lance Briggs and like names that you really like. Some of these young guys just. I mean, there's probably people in here who don't know who Lance Briggs is, but he was a heck of a linebacker, for those guys. Even going to Tommy Harris, the guy up front. I'm a fan of football. I've always been a fan of football first and foremost, and just been fortunate enough to be able to play. But I appreciate. Teams that have played for an extended time at a high level.
He mentioned yesterday that he's very proud of his versatility, but it's not exactly what he wants to be known for. He more wants to be known for what he's doing on the football field. How do you balance? Do you ever worry that he could get upset with all these moves, or could get a little annoyed with all these moves?
I'm sure it's that's a normal human response. Sometimes is to you always want to be place in the best case scenario, but that's not what team sports is. Team sports is all about doing what's best for the team. And again, you can be frustrated and still go out there and get the job done. I'm sure you've been frustrated at times. They ask you to write an article about something you just don't want to write about, and you still get it done.
Last night's game, the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, it's funny, man. And, it's very interesting. It's very you're always going to have people on either side, and I understand it. If it works, it's not. It's you're a genius. If it doesn't work, then you leave yourself open to criticism. It's part of it. But again, there are so many factors that go into it. Whether you're talking about analytics, all right, but analytics doesn't take into account other things. What's the weather? How's the game flow going? What are the matchups? There's just so many different things. And I would say, last night, he probably felt that was the best thing to do for his team. It's easy to second guess it, but it's interesting. It is interesting.
It's actually a favorite topic because I actually don't think there's actually a right or wrong answer. You could make a case.
That's right. We should do an off-season project together. We'll do in all seriousness. Yeah, because look, just like a player, you expect players, they make their biggest jump from year 1 to year 2. And my expectation for me personally as a head coach is to make the biggest jump from year 1 to year 2. And that's through, doing those deep dives where you actually have time to do them.
Are you kind of filing things away right now that, hey, when I have more time in the offseason, I'm going to...
100%. 100%. Yeah, it's a combination of things. Look, you can start with X's and O's. You can talk, you can then go to situational football. You can also go to structure and culture and, just things that, do I think I've done things right? Absolutely. Are there ways to improve? 1,000%. Do I wish I would have done certain things differently? Yeah, but those are things that when you get a chance, you get time to reflect. I'm going to go somewhere where no one can find me, just by myself, no kids, no nothing, and just reflect on the season. I think it's important, not only for football players, for anyone to take those times to reflect and see what you can do better.
When it comes to there's so many factors with something like a 2-point conversion. I'm just curious, whether it's last night or the situation you guys were in last week, how much of it is just matchup dependent? Like the Titans defense has been pretty good this year. Last night, the Bengals couldn't stop the Market accent at the end of the game. So how much of it is not the weather, it's not the numbers, it's just like our guys against their guys in that.
Yeah, ultimately that's what it comes down to. That's what sports to me, that's what it is. Like, you have to be better than the person across from you.
Does the 2-point conversion fall under Jeremy's responsibility, where it's kind of a special teams play, but it's not really a special teams play? Or is it more of an EVP?
The 2-point
conversion in the discussion,
that's 100% me.
And you mentioned the
Alex Austin.
That's interesting. You went to Springer. I never would have thought.
No, it's kind of a special teams play, kind of, but it's not really part of the.
The decision.
Yeah, the decision.
To go 1 or 2.
Yeah.
That's 100% my decision.
Alex Austin, gonna make a return this week.
Look, we're still having those conversations, but he is healthy and he's ready to go.
You mentioned the jump from year 1 to year 2. I was wondering, what have you seen from City So this season? Is there any chance we see him in the lineup anytime soon?
Yeah, he's continuing to grow. I will say, a guy like City who hasn't played football since he was 5 years old, like some of us, he's still developing and still growing.
Rod, we asked AVP last week about incorporating design runs for Drake in the offense, and he kind of said that he takes enough hits and stuff like that. Like, what is your stance sort of on scheming ways to, obviously his mobility has been a factor.
One thing I would say, he was in the concussion protocol not too long ago, and I'm not looking forward to designing quarterback runs for him at this present time. But who knows? Look, he's a rookie, and he'll continue to evolve as a player as well.
Gerard, you mentioned a few things that you had filed away already to review in the offseason. What was the first one or two things that you go?
Yeah, I don't want to get into specifics on that. I appreciate the question, but that's for me in my diary. All right. Thanks, guys. Huh?
You a deep dish pizza?
Love deep dish.